Hello, so in this video I'm going to show an example of some tools and also an important idea that's become very popular recently for AI and AI software development, and that's the idea of model context protocol. And really, model context protocol is just a protocol that was invented by Anthropic. That's the company that makes the chatbot Claude and Sonnet. And what it is it's a way to kind of standardize on how tools are going to be called, and how you set up your tool applications to respond to requests from an AI application and a language model. So, at any rate, the idea behind it is, like I said, based on a tool. And a tool, sometimes called an agent, is just an example of some software that an LLM can choose to make a request to while it's conversing with you. So the LLM, as in the process of answering your prompts and responding to you, may decide, aha, it would be really good for me to call a tool to get some information that I need in order to answer your question. Like if your question's about the weather, then it doesn't know the weather on that particular day. But if there's a tool that's been given, it can describe how to get the weather and then request that the application make a call to the tool on its behalf. And so it's typically installed for the LLM as part of something like its system prompt. It'll be told you have these tools available to you, and if you need information, you can request the call to those tools. So really good examples of these are anything like searching the web, which you need to get some recent information for, or specific information that maybe wasn't there when the model was created or trained. Accessing a drive like Google Drive, that's a good example of calling a tool, because inherently the language model can't really get that information on its own. But it does understand it can call a tool to get it, is the thing. And also for emails as well too are a really good example. A language model could never directly access your emails, but it realizes that there may be a tool installed that allows it to do that, and it could make a request to that tool in order to retrieve something about your emails. So in terms of a picture for how it works, it kind of looks like this. Without tools, the AI application forwards a prompt to the language model, and the language model provides an answer. And that answer is just based on its training for the original data that it consumed as part of its kind of creation process or training process. And so, of course, that training data may not include things like very recent information, or it wouldn't include things like weather information or information about your emails and so on. So this is a pretty limited approach because it leads to a lot of questions that the LLM can't answer, and that's not a very satisfying experience for working with an LLM. So what happens is the AI application sends the message or the prompt to the LLM just like before, but what happens in between, before the LLM answers, it realizes, aha, I need to call a tool in order to get this information. I need to call the web search tool. So it calls back to the AI application and tells it, can you call this tool for me and get this information and then give me the response? And so the AI application calls the tool that's in question. In this case, it's a web search, and the web search is done and some information comes back from that. And so the tool returns the information back to the AI application, which started things off. And the AI application knows to send that back to the LLM together with the original prompt from up here at the start, for the LLM to answer the question. So the LLM gets two bits of information. It gets the original prompt that the user asked, and it also gets this extra information or context from the tool call. So that's why MCP is called Model Context Protocol, because it's all about how LLMs get additional context in order to do something like answer your prompt. So at this point, the LLM has the original prompt and the result of the tool, and so it considers both of those together and then makes an intelligent response back to the AI application. And at that point, the AI application shows the response back to you. So to the end user, it all looks seamless. It seems like the LLM has just found the information somehow to answer your question. But in between, what it's done is it's made a call back and said, aha, I need this information. Can you get it for me? The AI application has gotten that information for the LLM, and then the LLM has used it as part of its response. And so the response looks a lot more meaningful when that happens. And so basically, the Model Context Protocol is just a standardized way to set up this process. And so this picture looks almost identical to the one we just looked at, in fact. And the whole setup here is the AI application starts everything off by sending a message to the LLM. That the AI application is sometimes called an MCP host or client. So you have to be a little bit careful with the terminology here. When people say a client, MCP client, they're usually talking about this AI application that starts things off. When they're talking about an MCP server, that's usually the thing that has the tools. And this MCP server might be running on a remote machine, or it could be running on the same machine as the rest of the application. So the MCP server is the thing that, or the software that contains the tools. And so that's where the tool call is going to be made. So the AI application sends the prompt to the LLM. The LLM says, aha, I know about these MCP servers. I need to call one. Can you make a call to the MCP server and get some information for me? The AI application calls the MCP server, gets the information. When that comes back, it forwards that information to the LLM, and the LLM responds to your original question by considering both the original prompt and the additional information it got from the MCP server. So the MCP server just kind of sits there waiting for requests to come in, and then it answers the request, and that's all it does. And its life is just all about providing this additional context or this additional kind of tools to the application that's orchestrating everything. And then finally, the LLM at the end puts together all of its MCP calls. There may be several of them, so maybe it calls one tool, then it calls on the second one, then it calls a third one. And it gets all the results of those calls, and then it returns an intelligent answer back to the AI application, which then returns it back to you. So that's kind of the setup for it and the overall idea behind Model Context Protocol. And in the next video, we'll take a look at some specific examples of these and how you set them up and what they look like. And we'll see how they're implemented in Claude, for example, and then also beginning to be implemented in OpenAI and ChatGPT. It's pretty much a fair bet that these MCPs will wind up as kind of plugins to most of the chatbots and the websites where you go to log in and work with the chatbots.